Hey everybody, Bill and Deb here. Before we start this video, there's a couple things that I probably need to mention about this video. First though, when Deb and I designed our trailer, interior measurements were very important, were they not?
Absolutely.
Yeah. If we would have figured our design based on 7 feet by 16 feet, we would have been in trouble, right? Because interior measurements are not 7 feet by 16 on a 7 by 16.
No.
Right? No, they vary a little bit. What we finally ended up doing, we went down to a local trailer dealer and took actual measurements of one there, and it was a different brand than ours. But what we found was that the measurements were almost spot on, weren't they?
Yes.
And, even though theirs was a different manufacturer than ours. But in this video, we do give you ceiling height of these 3 particular trailers that we measured. The thing about it is, on the ceiling height, those can vary depending on what the trailer was originally built for. They're, like on the 8.5 by 20, it had a 7-foot ceiling height, but then the one sitting right next to it wasn't that tall.
Right.
Right. So we want to throw in there right quick, be sure and check with the manufacturer when you're talking about the ceiling height. And measurements may vary slightly from one manufacturer to the next when it comes to the length and the width and things like that on the interior, but there should be close enough so that will sure help you with your design, correct?
I
Yeah.
would.
Don't you think?
Yes.
I mean, it worked out for us.
Yes,
right.
it did.
Yeah. So that's basically all we can say. Anyway, hope you enjoy the video. Hey everybody, this is Bill and Deb with I Ride Tiny House Adventures. Say hi, dear.
Hello there.
Yeah. Well, today we're in cargo trailer heaven. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, they sure have a lot of selection.
Oh, yeah. What we thought we'd do today, because a lot of folks have these basic questions, we're going to talk about the interior measurements of the 3 most popular sizes, we think anyway, that folks consider turning into a conversion. And we're going to cover the measurements on the inside of an 8.5 by 20, a 7 by 16, and a 6 by 12. Right?
Sounds good to me.
So let's get started.
So I ride, yes I ride, through the hills and valleys, across the mountains high. I don't know if I'll ever find what I've been looking for, but I know I'll never want for more. Yes I know I'll never want for more.
All right, we're standing in a typical 8.5 by 20 right now. And there's Deb sitting at the front door. Hi, Deb.
Hi.
Kind of echoey in here, isn't it?
Yes.
I hope y'all can hear everything with all the cars going by outside, but this is the best we can do. And I'm trying out some new lights for my video setup here to help with the GoPro. But first, what we're going to talk about is the measurement from the ramp. Now this one has a ramp on it. We're going to talk about the measurement from the ramp to the beginning of the V. And what is that measurement, dear?
It's 235 inches.
So from the ramp door to the beginning of the V, which would be right here, is 235 inches. So keep that in mind, and this is on an 8.5 by 20. Now, what is the measurement, dear, from the ramp door to the deepest part of the V, right here?
It's 256 and a half inches.
256 and a half inches. All righty. Now, another thing to consider, one thing you might want to consider, like I say, this one has a ramp. Now, we've noticed that a lot of folks like to use the ramp like a deck, where they can fold it out and make a deck. And we have seen in some cases where they want to build a false wall or a wall with a door in it that is inset a little bit so that they could still leave the deck down overnight if they wanted to, but still be able to lock the trailer on the inside and be secure. So what you got to take into consideration if you want to do something like that is you've got to allow enough room when you frame your wall here. You've got to allow enough room for this here to work. You've got to have clearance for that. And in this case, this comes out from this part of the ramp here to here, 6.5 inches. So if you're laying out your design based on using the ramp as a deck, and you want to build a wall inset to put a door in it so you can leave the deck down overnight and not be concerned and still be able to lock the inside of your trailer and be secure, you need to take into consideration that you're going to lose 6.5 inches by the time you build your wall, plus whatever the thickness of your wall is right here. So those are little things to think about. And while we're standing back here, on this particular one, it has a dovetail floor. And so roughly right about here where you see the toe of my boot, back to the back, it slopes roughly about 2 inches in depth as it goes back to the back. Now, if you're going to use this as a combination toy hauler and a place to sleep at night, then you'd want to keep the dovetail. But if you're thinking about building the trailer strictly as a camper type outfit or something to live in, then you might want to talk to the manufacturer about building you one that does not have the dovetail, because that could cause you some issues if you were going to be building cabinets or things like that back at the back. So those are things that you might want to consider. So let's talk about the distance now from the ramp to the fender well. And how far is that?
58 inches.
58 inches. So from the ramp to the fender well is 58 inches. And the length of the fender well is how much?
72 inches.
72 inches. So those are things you want to keep in mind as well.
And it sticks out 6.5.
And they stick out 6.5 inches on both sides. So the interior, what is the width in between the fender wells? We measured that.
83 inches.
83 inches in between the fender wells.
The rest of the trailer is 96.
Right. The rest of the trailer, even though they call it an 8.5. So from the toe kick here, let's start over, to the toe kick here in width, it is right at 96 inches, which is 8 feet. Right. Now this particular one measured from the floor to your ceiling joist right here, it's right at 7 feet. Right. So in the case of me and Deb, that would work fine. That's the height that we had our trailer built, but on a 7x16, we had to ask for extra height because the standard 7x16, they generally don't build them this tall. But on this 8.5 by 20, this is where the height of this one is. So you can ask them to build it taller if you need more height. So those are things to keep in the back of your mind as well. Is there anything we missed on this, Deb, that you can think of?
I don't think so.
Don't think so? Okay. All right. Now, it's something else to keep in mind, especially if you're looking at having one custom built, is where this door is placed here. If you're having one custom built, they can move this door anywhere you want it, up and down here. It doesn't have to be, you know, this one's pretty much a standard car hauler 8.5 by 20 trailer, but this door can be moved. And when you're designing it, you know, keep that in mind, that if you want to have one custom built to fit your design, you can have them move this door. And
I would move it 24 inches that way. So
yeah,
I'd have a cabinet
right.
there.
Yeah, you'd have them move the door further down, so you'd be able to have a cabinet across here on an 8.5 by 20. On this one, you'd probably want to put your kitchen in the nose and have your kitchen cabinets up here in the nose. We talked about that if we were decided to build an 8.5 by 20. That's one of the things we consider. And so, you know, that, and then of course windows. You know, a lot of folks will just buy a regular cargo trailer and then install their windows later wherever they want them. There's a lot of manufacturers that will install the windows for you during construction, and in many cases you can get that done for a lot less money by having them do it. Plus when they do that, they will actually weld in the frame that the window mounts in, so you're not worried about messing with the structural integrity of the framework of the trailer. And when they do the windows, they will also have little radiuses in the corners, metal radiuses that they weld in as well. So, you know, think about that too. Get a price on what it would cost to have the windows built into the trailer during the construction of the trailer. All right, now we're going to move on to a 7x16. All right, now we're in a 7x16. Is that right, dear?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a 7x16. Okay, and again, we have the ramp here at the back on this particular one. Now the distance from the ramp right here, from that ramp to the beginning of the V is how much, dear?
188 and 1/2 inches.
188 and 1/2 inches. All right. And the distance from the ramp to the full length, to the full depth of the V here?
211 and 1/2 inches.
211 and 1/2 inches. And then the width from toe kick to toe kick?
80 and 1/2 inches.
80 and 1/2 inches. And this particular one, the wall height to here is how much?
To there is, I didn't do there, I did to center, which is 78 inches.
Okay, to the center, it's 78 inches, and I remember what this was. This is 77 inches, and that's something that we did not cover in the 8.5 by 20 was the height to the center. But most of them go ahead and do the bow at an inch, where it bows out an extra inch in the center. So most likely that 8.5 by 20 will be the same way. So it'll be an extra inch taller in the center because they have the bow built in. So right here to the center on this one in the 7 by 16, it is
78 inches at center.
78 inches from the floor to the center, and then it drops an inch by the time it comes here. So from the floor to the side here, the height is 77 inches. I do remember that when we measured it. And we already got the width on this one, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so here again, this is a basic standard 7 by 16. And this is what we ordered. However, we got the extra height. Ours was a little taller than this one. Yeah, because I needed room to be able to put the shower in and all that stuff. All right, now we're going to move on to a 6 by 12, right?
I believe that's what you
All right, we're going to go on to a 6 by 12. We'll be right back in just a second. All right, now we're in a 6 by 12, right, Deb?
6 by 12.
Yeah, I get a little confused now and then. Okay, we're in a 6 by 12 right now, and this particular one happens to be a V nose here, or a slant nose, I mean. So, and I didn't get a measurement on that. We'll get a measurement on that before we stop. But now let's go ahead and talk about the measurements that we already have. First, we'll start, of course, with the distance from the ramp, and this one has a ramp on it as well. We'll start with the distance from the ramp to the beginning of the V. And how much is that, dear?
140 inches.
140 inches. Now, the distance from the ramp to the full depth of the V?
162.5 inches.
162.5 inches. The width from toe kick to toe kick?
67.5 inches.
67.5 inches. On this particular one, and this may be one that has a little extra height, I'm not sure, but the height in the side wall from here to the ceiling joist right here was 77. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. So it was just like on the 7 by 14 or 7 by 16.
Yes.
And the height in the center on this one is also 78 right here. All right. Now we'll get a measurement on the height with the slant nose. Be right back. All right, now the height with the slant nose here, and I measured from right at the floor, of course, to right in there, and it was how much, dear?
67 inches.
67 inches. So that'll give you your basic measurements there that you need. And you know, it's going to vary a little bit from manufacturer to manufacturer, of course. But these will be, and every one of these was from a different manufacturer that we just did. But in general, they're all very similar. Now, of course, there are variables that you can have built in yourself, as we've talked about already. You can have extra height added. There's lots of things that you can do. You can have them mount the doors in a different spot. Right, dear?
Yes.
Which we did with ours.
Yes.
Right. We had them put the door exactly where we wanted. You can have windows added where you want to have them. That's if you, of course, if you have it custom built at the manufacturer, which a lot of manufacturers will do that. So, and of course, if you wanted to opt for cargo doors rather than the ramp, then what's going to happen there is you won't have this to contend with here, of course, and you know, and it'll be a whole nother deal then. So, but these will give you some basic measurements to start with, and we'll talk about other things in another video down the line, things to consider. But we thought that we would just do this because I know when Deb and I were laying out the design of ours, it was real hard for us to get the exact measurements that we needed, and in ours everything was crucial right down to the half inch, right?
Quarter of an inch.
A quarter of an inch, yeah. So those things are very, very important. And, those will help you when you're laying out your design, like the width of your bed, the width of your mattress, the length of your mattress, what kind of a footprint your toy is going to be, if you're going to use it for a toy hauler. All these things that you need to take into consideration, and that will help you determine what size trailer you need to buy, to fit your particular needs, right?
Everybody's different, yes.
Yeah, everybody's different. So
That's the beauty of this type of build.
exactly, that's the beauty of this type of build. You can,
You-
as we
you-
well know,
You stop and you think about what's important to you.
Right.
And then design it accordingly, and that's the awesomeness.
right.
Is that
But
a
anyway,
word?
yeah,
Awesomeness?
awesomeness.
don't
Yeah,
know.
I think awesomeness is a word. I think if you were to go type it in spell check, it would go ahead and give you that word.
Well, we may try that.
We'll see. We'll ask Google,
There we go.
right? We'll ask Google. A Google?
Sensitive to that word.
Y'all take care. And this is Bill and Deb saying we're not camping.
We're living.
Exactly. And y'all take care, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye bye now.
As we sit side by side under the beautiful sky and reflect on this life we have chosen, there's so much we've discovered through our love for each other, with no worries about where we'll be going. Then I look in your eyes, and with no great surprise, I see joy in this life we've been given. With my mind oh so clear, I whisper softly in your ear, we're not camping, we're living. We're not camping, we're living. We're not camping, we're living.